I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas
Jose Feliciano.
and a dun, 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 dun.
Feliz
Welcome.
Navidad.
Dun, 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 dun. You know, we had that playing in the malls
Mhm.
um, during Christmas growing
Right.
up, and I'd hear, and they'd switch from English to Spanish.
Yeah.
And as a little kid, well, that's very typical Miami. So he
Hmm.
was doing a service to what it would be
Hmm.
typical in Miami. But as a little kid, you have to understand it's there's all these different genres coming together in Miami. It makes for it's just an incredible thing. Anyways,
Well, they were doing the same thing here on the West Coast. I mean, that song went huge all over the place.
it just an incredible thing. Um, anyhow, I a lot of things popped into mind, which will if it
Okay.
Um, I do want to welcome all of you guys out there to the Trampled Underfoot podcast show, and we're your hosts, Mark Lindsay over there on the west, and myself, Eloy Escajedo, over here on the east. What's going on, Mark?
Oh man, just I, I'm that far away from officially declaring myself in the Christmas spirit. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm that close. Now, I got to ask you a question here. Before we get, and this is a nice segue.
Uh-oh.
Oh, your overall general opinion on Christmas music. I
On
mean,
Christmas,
never mind the fact that they start playing it in October. But what is your general overall attitude on Christmas music?
I think of nostalgia. I think of a deep nostalgia, especially when I hear like Bing Crosby or even like rocking around the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Um, I feel a deep nostalgia. It's an Americana
Mhm.
feeling, like vintage, like walking into a vintage shop and seeing all these things that are part of our memories and
Mhm.
history. I think that,
Yeah,
or that one that's one of them.
I do too. So overall, in general, do you kind of enjoy it? Does it kind of, it's okay, or is it one of those
I
things with God? I wish it was January already.
Nope,
You
I
know.
never feel that. I feel a
Okay.
connection. It's like somebody handing you a photograph
Hmm.
of an old scenery
Hmm.
by a fire chimney or sitting around a table or some sort of memory.
Okay. Okay. This is a little bit weird, and I know I'm kind of springing this on Eloy right now, but we do this to each other all the time. I'd like to get the chat involved in this too about well, Robin's buys and DIYs. Robin says her mall. She works in a ice cream and sweets shop in a mall,
Awesome.
and
That's awesome.
said their mall is playing Celine Dion constantly. Now,
Well,
I also have to mention that she's in Canada, and their situation is a little bit different up there. A certain
mm,
percentage of the music that they play has to be Canadian bands or artists or whatever.
I mean, if they play the same
So,
thing over and over again, then it's like if they're saying "rocking around the," and then it's over, and then it starts again, "rocking around." It could drive a person
yeah.
crazy in that scenario.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah,
And it
100%.
also depends on the selection that they have. Because
Correct.
if they've got like 11 records and it's on permanent rotation, it's like how many times can we hear this same tune over and over again? Yeah, I'm with you on that score there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, do you have a favorite Christmas tune?
Anytime I hear Bing Crosby,
Hmm. So that would be White Christmas.
yeah, White
Okay.
Christmas. Anytime
Okay.
I hear those, I guess 50s and 60s rocked up
Hmm.
tunes. Anytime I hear things like Nutcracker slash, you know, stuff like that, it just a culmination. I don't have a specific like library, but
Hmm.
these are things that were played constantly throughout our lifetimes, and I have fondness for them in the
Hmm.
due to that nostalgia. So I don't have names, places, and like but generally speaking, Christmas songs in general. I mean, I'm not too much of a Frosty the Snowman and stuff. If it comes on the I'll take it. I have
Yeah.
no issue with Christmas. Um, anything. I find it an enjoyable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any Christmas tunes you do not like? Just absolutely. Oh God, I don't like that. Change the channel, please.
Even the weird ones like "Simply Having" by Paul McCartney, "A Wonderful Christmas," which is slightly weird. I
Hmm.
find it freaking awesome.
Okay. So you
So
don't have one. You don't have one that you love to hate.
I have no feelings in terms of uh, that I can recall right now
Mhm.
of negativity towards anything Christmas at all. Like Christmas to
Okay.
me is, I mean, it's not like you lose the thrill,
Yeah.
as far as like what a kid would. But
Yeah.
I have no negative.
Okay. Okay. Well, that shows a good heart because there are some Christmas songs that I just don't like. You know, and
Like what?
that got me to thinking. Well, um, for instance, Santa Baby.
How's that one go?
Oh, it was originally sung by Eartha Kitt, and then it was covered by Madonna, and then somebody else I don't remember. She's basically just hurry down the chimney tonight. You know that whole thing, just a list of all the stuff she wants for Christmas. I just want to throttle the singer. I really do. It's just like, oh, come off it.
I
You
do.
know.
I will say this. I do remember back in the '80s. I During Christmas, it could have been days leading up to Christmas or something. I spent the evening at my aunt's house
Mhm.
back then, and they were playing records, and she said, "Oh, look, let's listen to Michael Jackson. This is Michael Jackson when he was young." And she put on the turntable. She put on "I Saw Mama Kissing Santa Claus,"
Okay.
and it was the first time I had ever heard that song. Like my aunt turned me on to a lot of the different music from back in the I mean, they had a collection like you would not believe.
Mhm.
They went through the 60s, 70s, and then I came into the
Yeah.
picture. So they had all that background and stuff. And I remember listening to it for the first time and her explaining while it's playing.
Mhm.
She says, "Oh, that's great. You see, you understand that um, M- Mama kissed Santa Claus." And for some reason, as a little kid, I hated the idea of Santa Claus kissing Mama. I felt this thing inside. I was like, that's not right as a kid. And I remember it to
Yeah.
this day. But she explained that it was the dad,
Mhm.
in
The
the
Santa
song,
Claus. Yeah.
dressed as Santa Claus. But like that notion totally left my head because
Yeah.
I
That's
was,
my mom.
yeah, yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Because my parents had this album collection of Christmas music, and it was like, oh my God, it was in a box. It wasn't even a sleeve. Each of the albums were in paper sleeves, but it was like 5 or 6 separate albums in this collection. And I mean, we're talking about everything from uh, two guys with guitars doing green sleeves. Anyway, all the way up to Philharmonic orchestras and everything in between. And one of them they had was that song sung by a guy by the name of Jimmy Boyd. And this was back in the 50s or early 60s. And he had a really high pitched voice. Sounded like if this guy breathed helium, only dogs would be able to hear him. Okay. He had a real high voice and he sounded like a 7-year-old kid. And it was that song. And it was just it kind of creeped me out,
Yeah.
you know. Just like, wow. Yeah.
You know, that I think we have the luxury, for whatever it's worth, of having memory, and if we can snag it from the past for just a moment, we can open that window and really connect with the past to try to simulate those feelings from the past. I'll say, do you remember? It could be anything, but for me, as an example, first time you held little one of those snow scenery things
A little
uh,
snow globe. Yeah.
in your hand
Hmm.
as a little kid. We've seen millions of them at this point, but
Hmm.
I remember not the specific time but I remember holding them as a kid and being so entertained with just that
Yeah.
item and looking at the snow, and I just spent and I'd look into it and I'd imagine myself in that world, like what if I was in that world? It's like a little world and stuff, and so as a kid you're so fascinated, and now I'll look at it like I've passed a million of them at the store, at the
Hmm.
dollar store.
Yeah.
It's like, oh look, a snow, keep going. It's
Yeah.
like it's it's
Cheap
such
piece of plastic full of water and whatever,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, what yeah.
Who decided to put glitter in this? They got the wrong color glitter, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. So it's such a jaded.
Your inner Scrooge comes out.
Yeah, because it's like
Well,
once we've run around the block once or twice,
mhm.
um, it's just the amount of non-surprise and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, but to be able to snag that surprise moment again, if it
Yeah.
can be had, boy, that's something, dude. Because we're or I'm so darn jaded, dude, and I assume
Yeah.
other people are too, to a degree.
Well, yeah, and that comes with age and experience. And you're touching on it now because I've believed for many many years now that holidays like that, Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter and Halloween, are basically for the kids.
Mhm.
You know, now that's not to say that adults don't enjoy them, because we all know that adults do enjoy them,
Yeah.
but
Not the
I
same.
would rather watch my grandkids open presents than open presents myself, because you're talking about that nostalgia you get. I remember what that was like,
Yeah.
you know. Now I don't get me wrong, I appreciate everything, and I love my family,
Even the snow globes.
but it's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on the snow globe specifically, remember all things are relative. So when
Yeah.
you're 4 years old, that snow globe felt like the size of a basketball. It was half the size of your head. And I mean, shake that sucker, turn it upside down, shake it, and I'd set it on the table and I'd just watch that thing for hours,
Yeah. And
easily
it was fulfilling.
because I never seen anything like that before. And then, the next year it wasn't really it was still cool. I mean, it would have my attention for a minute, maybe two. But then after that, yeah, the bloom is off the rose.
You know, something that was a Christmas item that wasn't a Christmas item, but it sort of, at least in my mind, matched it, but it really wasn't a Christmas item necessarily.
Mhm.
Sometime in the 80s, they had these it was like a little black box,
Mhm.
and then it had all these like plastic long fibers,
Yeah.
and they'd turn it on and they would light up at the tips,
Yeah.
and it would have this beautiful thing.
Fiber
um,
optics. Yeah.
Fiber optics. It wasn't necessarily a Christmas item,
Mhm.
but it's one of those little gadgety things from back in I don't know if I think it was an 80s product, because I remember not seeing those, and then in the 80s starting to see those. So
Um,
maybe it was there before. I don't know. You tell me.
yeah, late 70s, early 80s, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well within my time frame of
Yeah.
existence. Yeah. Oh, I will tell you this. One thing that does sort of like get me a little bit
Mhm.
grinchy about it's when I see Well, you know the Salvation Army with Little Bell
Mm-hmm.
and the guy dressed as Santa Claus. No problem with that. I understand. I mean, we're human beings, and but it's when somebody gets a brilliant idea, but they don't quite. So they have this crappy shirt, and all they're doing is trying to get beer money. And you
Uh-huh.
can see, and like the suit is dirty, and like they're no effort. In fact, it looks like a horror Santa Claus or a horror, and they're
Yeah.
just standing. It's almost like a zombie standing there, give me beer. And
Yeah.
when I see those, there's something that just, even though I understand the dude's trying to get some beer or whatever, but inside of me, I'm like, oh, you're ruining it, man. And I
Yeah.
drive by.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big city thing. Around here, people would run them off. But yeah, do you remember ever getting excited about seeing the lady or dressed up as Mrs. Claus or the Santa Claus out there ringing the bell next to the kettle,
Yeah.
and then being able to run up and throw a couple of nickels or a couple of quarters in the
Yeah.
bucket?
It was an event for a
Mm-hmm.
kid
Yeah.
because it's like you're approaching.
Yeah.
You're approaching the source of toys.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I was thinking. I'm not thinking,
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is the source of toys.
Exactly. Yeah.
The source of toys.
It's weird. There are certain things. Just talking to you now, certain things are flashing back into my head. The, the Marine Corps Toys for Tots. I don't know if you remember that as vividly as maybe you do now, but I remember you would go into like Sears or Montgomery Wards or something like that, and there was always one corner where they had toys and big signs, Toys for Tots. And I mean, there was stuffed animals, and there were Tonka trucks, and there were bicycles, and there was all kinds of stuff over there that people would bring to donate. And there were people standing there, manning the parapet, make sure nobody was pilfering the stuff. And in my, I'm going to say 5-6-year-old brain, something like that, I'm thinking to myself, dang, they're getting all the good stuff. I wish I was one of them. Not realizing the situation on this was donations for kids who may not have a Christmas without this donation.
Right.
But just looking at all this stuff, it's like, oh, that's a cool bike, or oh man, look at that. It was just a weird juxtaposition. I wish I was one of them. I'd love to get that bike.
So there was that sense, but it was innocent because you're not considering all the complexities of.
Well, I didn't know. When you're that young, you just don't know.
You just, it's not even an option in your brain. I mean, for goodness sakes.
And I don't even remember how old I was when I asked my dad, what is this Toys for Tots things? And he told me about it. And then it was like, oh, wow. Oh, okay. Well, that's nice of people to do that.
Yeah.
But when you're young, you don't think of stuff like that. All I see is shiny.
Well, my mom used to, she was part of a group in Sweetwater that she had formed. She was the president of it, and she formed it with other women local to Sweetwater, and it was Women of Sweetwater in Community Action. And what it was a bunch of local women trying to bring culture into the city, because really there was, I was little and I grew up in that time, but there was they brought poetry reading, they brought art exhibitions. I mean, she literally petitioned to make it. Yes, we could do it. Like they wanted to enrich, and they brought these ideas. It's not like so they brought these ideas and this sense of building community from their old country. They were trying to replicate these things. Now, it's not an unknown thing to do a cultural event and this and that.
Sure.
It's just that there was none here. They found a gap in it and whatnot. And so they'd also do toy drives. And I remember sitting in one of the Women in Community Action's home with my mom. They were wrapping gifts for kids in need in the community.
Yeah.
And at the time, also, there was the Cuban boat lift situation, which was the Marielle
The Mary
situation
Elbow lift,
where
yeah.
Castro, and there was a lot of kids in there too, and so they were trying to assist with that. And so they're wrapping, but I'm sitting there, and like I'm seeing all these toys.
Yeah.
And there's one that she's about to rent. I said, "Mom, I want the," and she said, "No, son, you have plenty of. This is for kids in need." And I remember just saying, oh. I remember even though I obviously I have to accept it, but I was sitting there, I was like,
Didn't mean you had to
"Oh."
like it.
I wasn't liking it at all. I understood the concept as a
Yeah.
kid from my perspective, but I'm like, the toy's right there. So you don't know how to delay gratification. The toy's right there. What?
Yeah.
Hey, mom, what else? It's right there.
Yeah.
Who knows where this kid is at? I'm right
Yeah.
here
Can
next
we
to the
play?
yeah. So there's a bit of that when you're a kid, you know. I mean,
Yeah. Steve Combs says, I was of the same mindset when I was a little Steve. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
but that was the one time where it was almost okay to be selfish.
yeah,
Almost. I mean, yes, you give gifts to other people. I always got something from my brother, and I got something from my mom, and I got something from my dad and everything. And I was always proud of it. And I was always, eager to see what they would think of it when they opened it and what have you.
yeah,
But when you're a kid, you're interested in everything under the tree that has your name on it. You don't care about anything else. What did I get this year? What did I get this year? It's the one time of year where it was almost okay to be a little bit selfish and greedy, but you couldn't act like that.
Oh, I got to tell you this Christmas story, dude. I don't think I've ever. Maybe I have shared it before. I don't think I have. There was a time in the '80s
Mm-hmm.
where my mom and dad were going through a rough patch
Mm-hmm.
in their relationship.
Okay.
And as a consequence of that, I spent about a year living with my grandmother, grandfather, aunt, and my mom. So they separated for a year.
Okay.
And it was down the road, maybe a good 5-6 miles. It doesn't seem like a lot, but for a kid it is. And I was living in a duplex.
Mm-hmm.
So you had my grandfather, my grandmother, my aunt, which was about to start or already doing college and university and all that, my mom, and I. And the neighbors were a Cuban family. Likewise,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't know each other except that they lived next door in the duplex.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a friendly environment. And oftentimes I'd run over there. I'm a kid, and I caught that it was the mother, some other people, and the son. The
Mm-hmm.
son, which was probably in his 18, 19, something like that, looked like the guy, a famous guy from Hogan's Heroes.
Okay.
He looked just like that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you looked at him, and it's like, and I saw, and that guy, whoever he was, what's his name? The guy from Hogan's Heroes,
Well, which one? I mean, Bob Crane.
or not Hogan's? Could it have been? He had that actor's look.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just leave it. I could get
Okay.
more specific if I. And I thought, man, this guy's like an actor and stuff as a little kid, you know. And I always wanted to sit there and watch TV with him. And I'd sit there and watch TV, and I was like, damn, this guy looks like that one dude on TV. And I'd be like this, and I'd sit there with. So rounding home, one day I came back from school. They used to bus me to school and bus
Mm-hmm.
me back. I used to go to a Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
They bust me back, and I get off. I'm a little kid. I get off, and there's police cars everywhere in front of my house.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt is there. There's police officers, my grandmother, and I'm just observing the scene like, you know, those blurry movie when you
Yeah.
see a movie and they go back in time, and because I'm a little kid, I'm just observing. I've never seen so many. There's cops and stuff, and it turns out that somebody had busted in the house and stolen everything from inside our house.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Christmas time. That's why I'm
Right.
telling you the story. This is
Okay.
all during Christmas time. So all the Christmas gifts, everything wiped out. The way they got in was that they pushed the AC in, leaving the hole in the wall
And crawled through that.
and crawled through and
Jeez.
robbed the joint. But get this. Get this. They stole everything inside
Mhm.
except all my gifts. All my Christmas gifts under the Christmas tree
Mhm.
were still there.
But
everything
everybody
else,
else's was gone.
but everything else in the house, jewelry, this is wiped out. But my gifts were sitting right under the tree. At which point my family made the connection. The neighbor next door
Mhm.
that I would sit like because he's totally cool. And
Mhm.
he obviously as an old kid he realized that I thought that he was
Something.
the dog diggity something, right? Because I mean
Mhm.
this is the did not couldn't he didn't have the heart to take from me.
But he's the one that broke in.
He's the one that broke in. They stole everything, and as a consequence of that, shortly thereafter, we moved. I
Yeah.
returned to Sweetwater. My parents patched it up.
Mhm.
My grandparents moved out. My aunt went to some other place or whatever, and so but yeah, so that's a
Yeah.
Christmas, and it was Christmas time. They took everything,
The,
TVs, and
the guy that you looked up to did that, but he didn't have the heart to steal from you
mm-hmm.
personally. Oh man.
So he, but think about the
I know. I know.
think about the so people that steal and people that you have to have a lot you in order to there's a okay so there's a level of arrogance involved in that you think that you are so smart that the person before you or the person that you're about to do whatever
Mhm.
fraud against is completely oblivious to perceiving the world around them. There is such a thing as spidey senses in people.
Mhm.
You know, you
Yeah.
sometimes you feel like you're being followed or this or that.
Mhm.
Maybe you're not being followed, but that sensation of like whoa, and that whoa is there to protect
Mhm.
us, even if it doesn't end up being true. Let's say.
Yeah.
Um, but people are so a lot of thieves. That's why you see thieves doing stupid things because they simply think that they're so darn brilliant.
Oh yeah.
That,
Prisons are full of people that thought they were smart.
and that's why prisons are dangerous too because there's a lot of people that think they're so brilliant, but really they're just like I don't know. You can fill in the blank.
Yeah. 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 Well, they get together and they compare notes and they get caught again
And
because
not to
they
say,
still can't get it right.
well, yeah, and I think that yeah, it's if you
Well,
approach so even if you approach someone and you start to get the sense or me when I
mhm.
approach someone I start to get the sense that wow this person is out
Mhm.
to lunch
Yep.
like I've encountered people
Run,
that
don't walk.
yeah I always keep the principal baseline values of how you treat people and interact
Sure.
with people and boundaries
Sure.
regardless of you noticing that they're missing a few spark plugs and their engine's not running quite smoothly
Mhm.
um because well just because
Well,
it just
you don't know what's going to set them off, number one. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I got to go now. Hey, have a good one.
no
God bless you. Nice talking with you.
and they could be off on a million things
Mhm.
but not off on one so it's really difficult to not judge and overjudge um but
Well,
thieving from others
it gets more difficult as you get older. So thankfully we never had anything like that go on with us around Christmas time that I can think of. We had things pilfered out of our yard. Somebody leaves something out, usually me or my brother. We'd leave something out and it would disappear. I can't tell you how many bikes I had stolen from me because I just wouldn't lock it up or I wouldn't take it around back, put it in the garage or something like that. I wasn't big enough to lift the garage door. So I'd have to go through the gate, go around back, and put it in the garage. I don't want to do all that, leaning up against the fence, come back out, and it's gone. I was like, son of a, you know. That's how I got real good at building bicycles. Because my dad got to the point where he's like, I'm not buying you no more bicycles. I'm not buying you no more bikes.
I remember having my brand new bike. It was a BMX, and all the kids were taking off the cushion stuff, but I had all my cushions on and stuff, so I looked like one of those patrol guards.
It was
like
brand new, yeah.
But everybody else's was destroyed, scratches, none of the cushion on it or whatever. And I remember I had my chain, and it was like a blue chain with that blue rubber around the chain to protect it from oxidation or whatever. And it had that bluish sort of like aquamarine blue, and it was so cool, the chain. And I remember going to the candy store over here on 107th, and I biked there, and I got my chain, and I tied it on that pole and stuff. And I walked in and stuff. And when I walk out, I start to approach the bike. The bike's sitting there, but the chain is off. I had tied it on the post, but somebody or a couple of kids just lifted it and like as if to say, we could take your bike anytime we want, son.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was like, holy smokes. I was puckered riding bike back home. I was like, holy crap, I almost lost my bike. Because a bike was everything back then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was. I mean, when you're 7, 8, 9 years old, yeah.
It's everything. It's how you get to your friend's house.
Well, it was independence. It was freedom.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, your friend may live 3 doors down from you. But what a bike meant to me was that I could expand
your territory.
Yeah, exactly. And I could have friends that lived further away. You know, I asked my mom one time, I was in 3rd grade, so I don't know how old I was. Take me over to a friend's house. So where does he live? Well, he lives, here's his address. And I gave her the little slip that he had written down. And it was like, I'm not taking you all the way over there. No. You know, I don't know this kid. I don't know this kid's parents. I don't know that part of town. I'm not taking you all the way over there. And I remember being mad because she wouldn't take me over to my friend's house from school. And so when I got a bicycle, of course, that was the first place I went. Got in trouble for it. But, you know, I was used to getting in trouble because I was one of those kids. I mean, if I wasn't in trouble, I wasn't doing my job. So
I have to say, Mark, and I've said it in many different ways, but like growing up here in Sweetwater, even though this is Metropolis now, it was a different vibe back then. We only had our first like movie theater in the 80s, which I would attend all the time as an example. And our mall was just 2 miles away, although it was a major thoroughway. But going to the mall on Christmas, there was something, and working there. I also worked there during the holidays. And as Robin was saying, she works at a mall now. I'm curious as to, does the mall have that Christmassy vibe? Because back then it was really a Christmassy thing. You'd see people with their bags and everything. It was such a beautiful,
But the malls went all out to decorate.
They did.
And I mean, they would go way out of their way. Some would say overboard, but they would go way out of their way. Huge Christmas trees. And trains and things like that. We had one mall. It was 2 towns over from where we lived, but I mean, they had a little train that actually had a guy dressed up as an engineer that rode on it, and he'd put kids in the back, in the cars in the back. They had a room for one kid to sit in one seat and another kid in front and another behind, what have you, and just go around. And it was probably, it felt like it was miles and miles and miles when I was little, but it was probably, 200 feet, but still 200 feet of track that you could ride. And it weaved around and everything. It was out in the center of the mall away from the stores, but it was in the center where people could still come and go past and everything. And, you know, choot, choot, and just trucking along that thing. Mom and dad would shop for hours and I'd be on that thing. No, I want to go again. No, all right, fine. Well, dad'll hang here, and go by and see dad and wave at him and just, I mean, but it was absolutely fabulous. And the lights and the humongous Christmas trees and the big oversized Christmas ornaments hanging off of everything. Uh, do you remember the first time your mom or your dad let you help decorate the tree?
Yeah, as far as I could reach, there was like little extras that
Mm-hmm.
you'd hang other than the. I remember grabbing the because back then the little Christmas balls were like this,
They were
like
glass.
threads,
Oh, okay.
and you could pull them,
Mhm.
and underneath it was styrofoam.
Oh,
And
okay.
I remember
I know what you're talking
used to
about.
pulling. Do you remember those?
I remember the ones you're talking about. Yeah.
And you used to pull. I used to try to pull them apart and see styrofoam inside, and I try to I'd ruin those. But there were like little deer with
Mhm.
the thing, and we'd put those and then the stars. So I remember the Christmas lights and snaking those around the tree for the first time, right? Or early memories of that, um, as it being just a wonderful. I mean, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
I mean, we're putting a tree here. What's up with that? Well, now there's freaking lights on it, and now there. Well, what's going on next? What's tomorrow bringing?
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a wonderful forward X amount of years, and you're like, oh yeah, there's a Christmas tree. Ah, that's nice,
Well,
but the jadedness has
yeah.
filled the bucket.
Yeah. We don't even set it's Linda and I. We don't even set up a Christmas tree because we don't have room for one. All right. There literally is no place to put one. And it's a matter of she actually knitted a little Christmas tree. It's about a foot tall. And
That's
she
nice.
brings that out and she sets it up by the TV with a little thing underneath it, a little cloth, what have you. And that's our little Christmas tree. You know. Um, our neighborhood doesn't do a big thing with Christmas decorations. There's a few people that put up lights, not many. Um, that's mainly in town. On the east side of town, they put up huge displays there. The houses they all pool together. They all get together and they discuss a theme or something like that. And you go, one neighborhood will have, this theme going and all the houses are decorated up. And then the next, 2 blocks away, they're doing something else. But everybody just kind of coordinates with one another. I don't mean that they share money or anything like that. They just kind of coordinate. Well, we're doing this year. Oh, okay, fine. And I mean, 6 foot tall candy canes lit up and everything. And of course, everybody has to have a tree, in the front yard with lights on it and what have you. Now, I grew up in the 60s. At this age, we're talking about, I was born in 61. So we're looking at about 64, 5, 6, somewhere in that area. All the ornaments were made out of glass and they had like a mirrored coating inside.
I remember those too.
And then they had kind of a transparent paint on the outside, what have you.
Mhm.
And it was always, I can remember my dad complaining all the time. Well, let's get the Christmas ornaments out of the attic and see how many of them got broken from last year,
Yeah,
and how many they're going to have to go buy. And dad going through the Christmas lights before he put them on the tree
I
to try to
remember that.
find the one, because the way they
Yeah.
were wired, if one bulb was bad, none of them would work.
Yep. We had
And
that same problem.
going through and trying to find the one that didn't work, the one
I
that was
remember
burned
that.
out. Oh my God. And always had a live tree. Um, Mom liked the Douglas firs and it was a thing for a while. And I don't remember when it stopped, but you used to get tinsel. They called them icicles. And they were nothing but strips of reflective mylar or plastic, and they were loose. You'd buy them in boxes and there'd be, a ton of these things in a box. and you just kind of sprinkled them around on the trees
I
and kind of
remember.
hung them and hooked.
Yep,
You did have those as well?
100%. Yep.
Okay.
I haven't thought of that since probably back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so awesome that
It,
now that you bring it back into memory. Yeah.
I don't even know if they make those
It was
anymore.
like stringy confetti, shiny
Yeah,
for hanging, so it acted like frosty snows
yeah,
hanging from the tree.
exactly.
Um, it was so freaking awesome. I'm so glad that you brought that because I haven't thought of that in
Mhm.
forever in a day. Yeah, I think it came in a pack if I can remember, and it was coiled up maybe, and you'd pull pieces if I can sort of
Yeah, it was
remember.
kind of folded over. It was kind of folded over.
Fold it over.
And the dad finally got tired of that because I mean it made a mess. It was an absolute disaster. And then when it was Christmas was over, you take down the tree and needles and tinsel are falling all over the place. There's a trail out into the backyard. And then eventually dad would cut up the tree and just throw it in the garbage. Uh, and there was a trail over to the garbage can, and they didn't have wheels on them at the time. Of course, they were the big metal galvanized garbage cans. God, they were, it was a nasty mess. But I remember being just tall enough that by the time you stepped back and looked at the tree, everything from about 3 foot down was just covered with that tinsel, and every branch had an ornament because that's as high as I could reach, and the rest of it was kind of looked like somebody went at it with a little bit better eye than I had at the time. All I knew was stuff went on the tree, so let's put it all right here, you know.
So, so the most fantastic Christmas for a kid, for me being a kid, was in the early 80s. Um, I was totally into Star Wars
Yeah.
and G.I. Joe. And lo and behold, I wake up in the morning. My mom says, "It's Christmas, son. Listen to what my parents did for me that Christmas. Check this out. I mean, remember, these are these were Cuban exiles.
Mhm.
Their son is born in the United States. They met here, so it's not like they
Yeah.
met over. They met here after the fact, but that's not the point. The point is that these are people that they came here very young, purchased, got got a house, got married, got a house. You have to pay that. I mean, there's payments. I mean, these are not. Look what they did. My mom brought me out into the living room, and everywhere she placed Star Wars figures in there along the chimney. We have a chimney actually,
Mhm.
um, all along the chimney, all along the Christmas tree, in the bathroom on the so that I would explore. There were little toys everywhere, and she said, "Look over here." I mean, I was like, "Oh my goodness!" That was such for a kid. Star Wars is the end all be all, and all sorts of little figurines and stuff. They really went out of their way um, to leave me, and because what you're left with is that memory. I played with those toys for years, but what you're they left me a memory that is so
Mhm.
powerful, um, that as an adult I can reflect back on and think what they were thinking in order to be able to do that. Whereas as a kid, I'm just satisfied with acquiring the toy. And when you reflect on things like that, you can't help but have just an incredible amount of thankfulness
Uh-huh.
for them, and also take into consider, even though I'm quite I could be negative, I could be strong and stuff, but also have a certain amount of like you know consideration for other people, and to a degree, and
Yeah.
they form you to a
Mhm.
great degree,
Yeah.
and things like that are so powerful. So yeah,
Well, those things weren't cheap even at the time.
they weren't cheap.
So to do that, I mean, yeah, that's
Hmm.
something. I mean, and that's exactly what I mean when I say that Christmas is a kid's holiday because as we get older, that magic wears off. And a lot of people start thinking of it as drudgery. And oh my God, here we go again. Not another one. And but trying to capture that magic back,
Tough.
it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Yeah.
Uh, Steve Combs, again, talking about his daughter and he were at Destiny USA Mall in Syracuse, New York, I'm guessing, a couple weeks ago. It's multi-storied and there's a huge atrium in the center, and they had it all decorated with a snow machine up top. Now that's just flat out cool.
Yeah.
That's just cool. It was snowing down, and all the little children were chasing snowflakes on the ground floor. It was pretty magical. See, that's exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about. You know, imagine being one of those kids out there running around chasing the snowflakes. I can picture myself doing it.
Yeah.
I can
It's freaking
picture
awesome.
myself doing it. Did you ever see the movie The Christmas Story with Ralphie with the BB gun? You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Um, I remember the old like 50s or 40s Christmas story.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember that one that you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, this was 70s, maybe 80s. I don't really remember.
I
Very good flick. Very
I
funny
pro-
movie.
I probably have seen it, but I can't remember it for
They go to this shopping center, and he's going to get up on Santa's lap and ask for a BB gun because his mom and his dad and everybody he knows keeps telling him, "You're going to shoot your eye out with that BB gun, kid. You shoot your eye out, kid." That was the movie's tagline. Well, they get to the shopping center, and of course, they're all adults, and you're looking at this from a 7-year-old's point of view, and everybody seems just a little bit mean. The elves, "Come on, kid, it's your turn. Get up here." And he gets up on Santa's lap, and he freezes up. "Oh my God, this is the big guy. This is the big guy." And he's, "What do you want, little boy?" And he couldn't bring himself to say it. He says, "A football." And oh, okay. And then they take another elf grabs the kid and takes him off of Santa's lap and puts him on this big slide to go sliding down into this pile of artificial snow. And he gets on that slide. Says, "Wait. I want a Red Ryder BB gun." "No, you'll shoot your eye out, kid." And the elf pushes him down with his foot.
Yeah.
The only takeaway from that movie for me when I first saw it was, how come our mall doesn't have one of those slides?
There was
I
no
didn't give a
other.
dang about anything else. How come
Yeah.
we don't have a big slide like that at our mall?
Well, you see, that's the thing. The moral of the story for a kid. I mean, it's the shiny thing that they are interested in.
Now, do you remember as you grew up, maybe you're 14, 15, 16, and you're getting out of the toy thing?
Yeah, I was out by 16, by 15.
But do you remember seeing commercials for kids' toys on TVs and going, "Well, how come we didn't have that when I was a kid?"
No,
You never had that?
no, because dude, there was so much stuff, dude.
Yeah,
There
there
was
was.
so much. Like we had GI Joe. We had
Mhm.
look, we had. It's just crazy. We had GI Joe. We had Star Wars. We had Transformers.
Transformers,
We just
yeah,
a whole series of things. There was so much.
BattleBots, and
And then you had your Nintendos and your Ataris and your
Mhm.
this and that. By the end of the throughout the 80s, it was all about that. But then it reached a point where it's like I remember this. I had the toys and I'm like, okay, we're gonna play, and then I'm like. Ugh. I remember a moment when I grabbed them and I remembered fresh the excitement of playing with your GI, and I looked at them like, and what's happening? What's happening is that's being replaced by another pastime interest that kids love, and that's chicks and stuff. So
girls, yes. But still, there was nothing, because I can remember seeing the first commercial for laser tag. And by this time, I was probably 19 or 20 years old. And I'm like, damn, that looks cool. How come they didn't have that when I was a kid? I'd have loved something like that.
But by the time in the 80s, it was pretty much the pinnacle of toy stuff, dude. It
Well,
really was.
I don't know. I mean, because
I can
they
I'll go to court and sit on a bench in front of the judge and swear by that. Okay, I will, because it was
well,
so overwhelming.
we both love our generation. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you're a kid of the '80s, and I'm, truth be told, I'm a kid of the late '60s, early '70s. I mean, I thought Hot Wheels was the best thing in the world.
We had that too. We had that
Yeah,
passed on.
but I remember when it was brand new,
Yeah.
and there were like 8 cars, and it didn't take long to collect them all. Then the copies started coming out. There was one by a company, I don't remember which company made them. It was called Johnny Lightning, and that was supposed to be the competition for Hot Wheels. They were different cars and they worked on Hot Wheels tracks, but they weren't the same quality. And it was seen, if you had those, you weren't cool, because that was the cheap knockoff. That wasn't the real Hot Wheels. It was completely different. But
Yeah.
then when things came along and technology started taking off, I was married when we got our first Atari video game system. That was the old 2600, and I thought we were cool.
It was awesome.
It was fantastic.
It was super cool.
But I was in my 20s.
Right.
So, so it's like, how come I didn't have this when I was a kid? Where was this when I was a little kid?
But we didn't have that in the 80s. If you're born in the mid 70s like I was, you had that beginning of the 70s, but then you rolled into the 80s. And what you're doing is you're every year, because remember what happened. I know this happened before, but everything was on steroids in terms of that. You had cartoons being produced in order to sell toys.
Right.
And you had companies trying to top each other to such. If you think of the excesses of the 80s, it was in the field of toys as well, to the point where every year there was a bunch of new stuff coming out. If you think of the 90s and beyond, I guess there's some cool stuff there. I don't know. I never saw something, because we had the laser tag. That's cool. We didn't have paintball guns. That did start to show up a little bit later. But that's a different.
I'm laughing at paintball because in the Army, we used it for military training. They said it was actually just a free for all, and all the lower enlisteds got to shoot the officers that they didn't like. But it was a free for all. So, let's see. Jim says full size Tonka toys that you could really do damage to someone when you swung it at them. Yeah, there was a little bit of that going on, but I think it was almost a law that you had to have a big yellow Tonka dump truck. Because if you didn't have one, I mean, the other kids in the neighborhood were like, wow, your parents must not love you, Dad, I want a dump truck. I want a dump truck.
We had some of those things. But it really wasn't my interest. My interest was literally Star Wars and G.I. Joes and such. It was everything. And we had the guns, different. Oh, that's another thing. After the 80s, guns, cap guns, started to slowly, that you could still find them, but there was a redirection. If you notice, the 80s was the pinnacle of excess in terms of even music. And then you had these people slapping explicit lyrics on albums. And if you think of what came after, was grunge, a depressing slop of, and there's some good stuff in there, but after the 80s, you get into the grunge, and then you get into all this crap, and everything becomes so like
downer.
It's a down. Everything is a freaking downer after that. The 80s was like, let's go. And then afterwards, it's like, I'm so depressed. And so it just goes down freaking hill. And then, hey, here we are.
Yeah. Going, what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, it was, yeah, Linda. I had welts for weeks from paintball. Yeah. They would go out with their paintball guns as well. We were in different units in the Army. And They would do their thing, we would do our thing, but God, it was fun. God, it was fun. But
Portal still has a 2600 in his arsenal.
I think David has everything he has ever owned.
He doesn't have a laser tag gun, that's for sure. I can tell you right now.
He probably has 6 of them.
I if there's no photograph, there's then it didn't happen.
Pixar, it didn't happen, huh? Internet law number 1. I don't know if he does have laser tag or not, but I don't think
That's
he
kind of
wasted his time with laser tag. You don't need, why waste your time with laser tag when you have the real thing?
in a hermetically sealed package, by the way.
Oh man, he just won a bet. Oh man. Okay, I want to, if we can, I love this time of year because we get to do this kind of thing. But if I can, I want to go back to music for just a minute, and specifically Christmas music. And I asked you if there was one Christmas tune that you didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And to get the folks in the chat in on this, is there a Christmas song that you just absolutely do not like? And if it comes on the radio, you're changing the station or you're turning the volume down. I don't want to hear that song.
I'll be home for Christmas.
There is a list. There's an organization called YouGov, and they surveyed 1,000 adults. And they said, which Christmas songs do you like? And which Christmas songs don't you like? And out of those 1,000, they came up with, it's supposed to be the top 10 most hated Christmas songs. Supposed to be top 10 because there's a 3-way tie for 5th. So the folks out there in the chat, is there a Christmas song that you absolutely do not like? Because I'd like to find out if it's on the list. And I'll get you started. The last one on the list is, believe it or not, Jingle Bells.
I can see how it could become torturous if you're sitting in a padded room and they're playing it off of one of those old German speakers, too far to reach. But for goodness sakes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can dislike Jingle Bells. Now, there are versions of Jingle Bells I don't like.
Right.
But usually those are obnoxious kids choirs where not even a kids choir, a like a class, the 4th grade class is going to sing Jingle Bells, and every kid is screaming at the top of their lungs.
Let me. So Steve C says, "Little Drummer Boy," and I'm going to tell you, I think you found it. If I had to pick one, because I always remember, even as a little kid, thinking, "Pa-ra-pa-pum-pum," and thinking that is so hard. Like I wanted to, yes. So that one's the one. Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. What do you mean pa-rum-pa-pum-pum? I don't want to hear pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. So yeah, I'm with Steve on that one.
Now, Steve Nealon says Jingle Bell Rock.
Steve, Steve has such an attitude displacement problem. He always has to really go against the fray.
Well,
how can you hate what is it? Jingle Bell Rock.
Jingle Bell Rock. Well,
rocking around the Christmas
Jingle
tree.
Bells was number 10. Little Drummer Boy is number 9.
Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. It's just the pum-pa-pum-pum was, as a kid, it's like, oh my goodness. And there was a commercial, I'll just say this, there was a commercial on TV back in the 80s where it was like to go see the certain lights or something at the mall, or I don't know what the hell, and they had and they would play the Nutcracker theme,
the Nutcracker Suite, yeah,
and there was something weird about it, but nothing like the pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. I just continue.
Well, like I said, that's number 9. Believe it or not, number 8, and this may get a little bit of pushback. I don't know. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
What? People are so jaded.
Yeah. And this is going to be interesting because I see there's a few things on both lists. So, next is, believe it or not, Mary Did You Know?
Which one's that one?
I don't even know how it goes, to be honest with you. I think it's fair.
Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know?
Now, number 6 is Baby It's Cold Outside.
How's that one go?
Oh my gosh. You're asking me to sing.
You can mime it.
um,
That might not help.
it's a man and a woman, and she's trying to leave, and he's saying, "Oh no, stick with me, baby. It's cold outside. I really must be going." He's like, "Baby, it's cold outside."
But he just says it like that?
Well, no, he sings it. Baby, it's cold outside. It's from a movie. I don't remember which movie it is.
Oh, it's one of those call and response type
Yeah.
songs?
Yes.
I've gotta go. Baby, it's cold. Stay here. But I gotta
Kind
go.
of so. Kind of sort of.
Yeah. Well,
There you go. Robin says you should change your name to Parumpa Pum Pum instead of Florida Man. Robin says she doesn't like the 12 Days of Christmas song. That gets a little tedious.
What?
That gets a little tedious.
No, dude. Hold on. On the first day of Christmas, my true love. Dude, it's you're building. You guys don't get it.
It's a holiday themed 99 bottles of beer on the wall. That's what it is.
No, but you see, you're not grasping the beauty of it. They're building up to a crescendo. I know that doesn't help.
Right. Now, David is with me. I'm with David on this. Can't stand Santa Baby. Yeah, no thank you. No thank you.
So is that the one where that baby please don't go or something like that?
No, that was the one with just the gold digger with a big old long list of stuff she wants Santa to bring and hurry down my chimney tonight. Let's see here. Steve Coombs, worst thing is they made me sing it in a Christmas pageant when I was little. Pum my ass. Now, Steve Nealon says Mary Did You Know is one of my 3 favorites. See, now, and that's why I wanted to get everybody in there.
But you see how Steve loves to cross the remember in Ghostbusters, don't cross the streams, because there would be like some sort of like Steve loves to just go against the fray.
Well, Robin's in his corner, so he's good. Let's see. Rick French says, "Do you remember Merry Christmas, Darling from the Carpenters? One of my mom's favorites. I hated it." I don't remember it.
Man, you guys know the titles and the thing. If I listen to it, that's another thing. Right. Okay. Yeah. That.
It's I don't know. Let's see.
You guys don't remember It's Christmas in Denver? It's Christmas in Denver.
See, Rick French says Baby It's Cold Outside was banned on most radio stations a few years ago because of the sexual predator nature of it. Now, usually I look at stuff like that. Oh, well, it's a sexual predator and this, that, and the other. And I think, oh, come on, you're really having to grasp at straws for this. But I have to say, if you listen to that song, they're not wrong.
Well, wait a second. I want to parallel this. I'd have to listen to it but a similar thing happened. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry for interrupting the flow, but it's not really, because I'm injecting this bit here that might.
Yeah.
So the police.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite appropriate within the context of the band. The Police has a song where where it says, I'll be what is it? I'll be watching you.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and can't you
Yep.
see
Every
you
step you
belong?
take, I'll be watching you. Yeah.
Right. If you listen to the song back through the 80s,
Mhm.
I nobody in my no, at least as far as I knew, thought anything other than this
Yeah.
is a passionate thing. But in the 2000s, people were saying,
Yeah.
well, wait a second.
Read those lyrics without any music. Yeah. Can't you see you belong to me
Yeah. Yeah,
every
but he's
single
saying
day?
it right. Well, you could okay, so yeah, you could take it. Well, number one, if
Every
any of
step
that is
you take, every claim you make, I'll be watching you.
well,
Yeah, and it's like, oh, dude, there's a word for that.
it's Stalker Nation. But
Yeah,
but but
exactly.
but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. He sang it in such a way that when you're listening to this, you're like, yeah, and you're singing along to it, and you're like involved in it. But really, if you think about it, now that it's been analyzed over 50 years later, um, it does. There
Yeah,
is a strong claim.
exactly. Well, Baby It's Cold Outside is very similar. Now, Jim Dockerow says, and I've heard this too, there's a version where it's the girl singing the Baby It's Cold Outside part and the guy's trying to leave.
And that's almost as bad because now we have a go ahead.
Yeah, but
No, because
women just generally don't do that though. Come on, girls, hold up your end of the deal here.
do you remember the movie Misery, which was actually a book by Stephen
Yeah,
King?
Stephen King, yes.
It turns into one of those situations,
Exactly.
and that can't be
Exactly.
good.
No, it's not. But I usually look at it and take it with several pounds of salt when somebody says we need to get rid of this. A radio station says, "Oh, we're going to pull this because we don't like the message it sends." But
Yeah.
I think they make a strong case with that one because it sounds pretty stinking creepy.
I love how you used a pound of sand of salt.
Yeah, I don't
And
take a few grains. I take it with a few pounds because usually people are grasping at straws. It's like, what? You know.
so there is that sort of creep factor. But don't you see juxtaposed? I mean, I'm not talking about the Christmas song. I'm talking about the
Mhm.
police song. That when he sings it and the band's playing it and they're
Yeah.
they're in their
Well,
synchronicity, no pun intended.
yeah.
It almost it's almost like nah, there's no problem here.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a love song.
Yeah,
But you step back and look at it now in 2020 hindsight.
it's some serious stuff.
Yeah, it's some whoa. Um Let's see. Rick French wants to know, does anyone anywhere like grandma got run over by a reindeer? Maybe the first 524,000 times it was played, but that one got real tedious real fast.
Is that one a Beach Boys style song?
No, it was done by, it's from the 70s. 1979, as a matter of fact. The original people that sang it called themselves Elmo and Patsy.
I can't connect unless I hear the song. I could
Mhm.
tell you, as a matter of fact. I mean, if it's been played more than 100 times on radio throughout the past few decades, then I would know it. But I don't
Mhm.
know them by the names because it's not. It comes once a month, a year,
Mhm.
and then Christmas is done, and you might stick with a few of the classics. But other than
Mhm.
that, I don't.
Yep.
I don't
Well,
remember the titles.
there's a tie for fifth place on this most hated. All I Want for Christmas Is You and Last Christmas.
All I want for Christmas is. I like that song. I
Okay.
like All I Want for Christmas Is You. I like that song a lot. And the other one was what?
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart.
Oh, that's a good one too, dude.
It is tied at number 5 with All I Want for Christmas and
Dude,
You.
these people are just jaded, grumpy,
Well, you're going to
Grinches.
get really upset because number 4 is Paul McCartney's Wonderful Christmas Time.
Dude, these people are evil, like satanic. Think about it. What would please them? Like some fire and brimstone and a cauldron with like
Something else you're not going to like is number 3 is I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. And remember, these are the most hated Christmas songs.
Yeah, well, what do they like, these people?
Well, we'll get to that next.
Uh,
Number 2, Rick, is Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. That is the number 2 most hated Christmas song. So you are not alone. And the number 1 most hated Christmas song, yay, is Santa Baby. So
okay.
can we please retire that thing?
Well, I'm gonna have to look at this. Listen to this.
What?
Santa Baby.
Santa Baby? Well, we get our very first copyright strike. No, actually, you're going to play it and we won't
I'm
be
gonna
able to hear
I'm gonna mute it.
it. Well, oh, okay.
The one by who's the one? Oh, Earth.
Eartha Kitt. Yeah, she's the
Okay.
one that did the original.
I'm gonna
So,
mute here for a second.
okay, he's going to mute himself while he listens to it to see if he remember it. Yeah, Jamie, we there's some great Christmas songs by Kevin Bloody Wilson. Yes. And I can't even we haven't even gotten into novelty Christmas music yet. That's why I didn't mention the one that you were talking about, Robin, about the 12 Pains of Christmas. We haven't even gotten into novelty Christmas music. But Kevin's is so raunchy, I can't even say the titles of his songs without getting kicked off of YouTube.
All right, I listened to it. I may have listened to that once or twice ever. It's not something that was typically played.
Yeah,
So to me, and I listened to it, and I can see how she's a very like it's like me.
exactly.
Yeah, but it's not the point of it. It's just she's saying, "Look, I'm a doll. Come on, let's work
Mhm.
together here. Give me some stuff, man." You
Yeah.
know,
And
whatever.
it's just over the top. But,
Yeah,
so we don't take this completely on a downer. The top, well, I'm going to just do the top 10. I have a list of the top 20 most popular Christmas songs on Spotify. And these are the songs that have the most downloads and the most listens. Number 10 is Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow by Frank Sinatra.
I like it.
Yeah, that to me, that one's kind of more bright and cheerful than some of the others. If we look at the most hated, with a couple of exceptions, they're kind of, you know, they're
Draggy.
you couldn't really call any of them peppy.
Yeah. I just called them draggy, and in today's
Yeah.
parlance, that might mean a whole different bunch of stuff.
Now, I wonder about number 9. I wonder if it's people with the nostalgia thing like we have. Because number 9 is Holly Jolly Christmas by Burl Ives.
Have a holly jolly Christmas.
Right. And that came directly from the
like
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Rankin Bass stop motion animation TV special. Where when you watch that special, the snowman who's narrating the story is Burl Ives, and he sings that during that TV show. Then it was released as a single.
When did that come out? That animated
Oh
that stop
boy.
motion? Because that was cool.
Let me look it up.
You know what else was cool? It was the Charlie Brown Christmas as well.
Yeah.
Boy, that was fun.
I remember when that was new too.
Dude, that stuff was freaking awesome. Man.
That came out in 1964. I was 3 years old.
Which one? The stop motion?
Yes, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That came out in 1964.
It goes to show that we're rehashing things throughout the decades, but you're not going to get that in today's world.
Yeah, it's still on TV. It's a CBS thing, and they still play it.
CB what?
But CBS.
Never
Yeah,
heard of
I
her.
know. Charlie Brown Christmas also. I remember when that was new. That was like 65 or 6, maybe a little bit later. But yeah. Let's see. Okay, the next one is The Christmas Song by Nat King Cole. That's number 8.
How's that one go?
Although it's chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Another beautiful one.
Yep. And you gotta give props where props are due, because that man had a voice. They called Mel Torme the Velvet Fog because of his smooth voice. I think actually that title should have gone to Nat King Cole, because if you look up the word smooth in the dictionary, all you're going to find is his picture.
They called him the Velvet what?
The Velvet Fog.
It's funny because they call me the Hairy Frog.
They call me Deacon Blues. No. But if you look up the word smooth in the dictionary, you're going to find a picture of Nat King Cole, because that guy's voice, I mean, is just, yeah.
My mom listened to Nat King Cole. Those were the albums that and not Frankie Valli. What's his name? The teen idol from the clean version of the rockers from the 50s and 60s.
Well, there was
Paul Anka.
Paul Anka, yeah.
She really loved Paul Anka and Nat King Cole and all that stuff.
Yeah. So Johnny Mathis, Bobby Vinton, those guys. Yeah, that was my mother as well. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. The next one is the one of them that you brought up. Number 7 is White Christmas by Bing Crosby.
Beautiful voice.
Another show tune.
Yeah. Show tunes are awesome, dude.
Yeah. Well, it made for a movie. And that's cool.
Dude. I'm sorry. I don't want to break the thing. I just throw this, dude, one way or the other. Maybe we could do like one of those viewing parties. I would love to see your reaction to the movie. It's a remake. It's called The Lost World, I think it's called. Because there's a gag in there about show tunes. I just love to continue. It's just if we could ever do one of those where we get together and just sit and watch something. I mean, but this is one that would be cool. But go ahead.
That's an interesting. You and I will talk later. Number 6 is an older tune, but the version, it must be a new version. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas by Michael Bublé. Now, I've not heard his version. He's another smooth voice son of a gun.
He's a great singer. He's got more of a... He's a great singer. He's just from a newer generation. So he has a little bit of the newer generation vibe to him, but he's a great singer. So
yes, for sure.
And he's Canadian, I think.
He may be. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
I don't know why we always have to. And by the way, he's Canadian. Like we always
they're just like you and me, Eloy.
But we always accentuate. We always, you know what I'm saying? Hey,
we're trying to be inclusive with our friends north of the border.
You know who else is Canadian? Just out of the blue, Jim Carrey. Did you know? Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, what the guy from the Ghostbusters? Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd. I think Harold Ramis was too, wasn't he? I'm not sure. I know Rick Moranis is.
Rick Moranis is too. Yeah. Dude.
And Dave Thomas.
Dude, what the hell? What if this is all Canadian? Like everybody's freaking Canadian now. If you think about it, what the hell's going on around here?
Maybe that's the end thing. Maybe we all got to be Canadians.
Yeah, something's going on. Hey, I just felt it drop the temperature. Let me qualify that. I just felt it drop. Let me qualify that saying. I just felt the temperature drop
Yeah, there you
slightly.
go.
You can't just leave it in the air like that.
Robin's your holly jolly Christmas earwormed me. Our work here is done. We'll throw another one out and see if that eliminates it for you there, Robin, because the next one is Bobby Helms singing Jingle Bell Rock.
You gotta love it.
Yeah, I mean, eh, once or twice, but it can get tedious too. You know, I
No, it
mean,
can't because it's got that rock and frickin' guitar little
it's
frizzles.
got that rockabilly. It is cheerful, but it's yeah, I can yeah, okay, once or twice that's a good enough. Now let's see who said it. Somebody up here said it. I got to go scroll up and find it. Jamie Page, our buddy overseas, said one of his favorites is Last Christmas by Wham.
Everybody jitterbug.
And that is number 4 on the list of top 20 Christmas songs on Spotify. Last Christmas by Wham.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So, like I said, some of these made both list. You know, the most hated as well as the most loved. And let's see, number 3, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year by Andy Williams. That was another one my mother was crazy for, was Andy Williams.
I want to listen to Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time now.
Yeah, because it made the list of hated. It was number
Yeah,
4 on the list of the most hated.
I mean, yeah.
um, Eloy and Mark need to do a Christmas song. Nobody wants to hear that. Eloy can sing. I can't.
Yeah, but we have auto tune.
Well, I don't.
We can work it out so that hey, there you go. We can work it out. Um, we could do
I
something. We could
very
do something.
sure. No, we couldn't. Number 2, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, Brenda Lee.
Didn't you just say that?
No, I said number 3. Well, yeah. Number 2. Excuse me. Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. No, it wasn't on the hated list.
Oh, but they're all starting to sound the same to me now.
Rocking Around the Christmas Tree and Jingle Bell Rock are 2 different tunes.
Jingle bell, jingle bell rock.
Right.
Dun, 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 dun. And then rocking around the Christmas tree at
Right.
the Christmas party hop.
Right. 2
Okay,
different tunes.
so here's the thing. It's almost like all these Christmas songs are in a blender, swooshed around,
Mhm.
and that puree that comes out, they all blend in at this point.
Yeah,
It's
and that's my problem with Christmas music in general. Is pretty soon they all start sounding the same.
well, yeah,
You know.
it's one continuum
Mhm.
of sleigh bells plus music.
Yeah, but there are more notes. There are other chords. I mean, let's pretty soon they all start sounding alike, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Can we put it on something else? Anything?
Thank goodness nobody
Just for
said
a little while.
like you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Actually, I like that song. I do like that song.
You see?
Um, and in fact, the best version I've ever heard of that song was Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs. He's got that naturally deep baritone voice,
Mm-hmm.
and he did train to be a singer. He can sing. It's just not his focus, you know.
You know
But
what?
he
Oh, go ahead.
actually does a very, very good job with that song. With that song.
I don't know why. I just for some reason all this talk. And that's why I raised my uh for attention here. I don't know why, but just the successive continuous '60s Elvis um movies and the music in them, for some reason, remind me of Christmas time too, even though they have nothing to do with Christmas. It's just
Well,
a memorial type or remembering. The, and they were in the 60s. They have nothing
yeah.
to do with the time that I was. But all this type of thing, I don't know why it just popped into my
Well,
head with the little
there
music in those movies.
there were a few Christmas time movies that Elvis was in, and they about the time you were growing up, they were coming into syndication
Hmm.
and were being played on the network, on the
Yeah.
networks. You know.
No, we saw on syndication
Mhm.
everything you could imagine from Laurel and Hardy to
Yeah.
it's just everything. The Little Rascals. Um, so we were being fed this history, movie history and whatnot, Abbott and
Mhm.
Costello and all that. And
Yeah.
it's just wonderful, dude, to be able to see that, and yet you have like 80s stuff happening at the same time. Man, what a
Well,
freaking good.
you're
I'm
talking
sorry.
about my child. You're talking about my childhood as well, because I was a major fan of Little Rascals, Three Stooges, Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin. I when I was about, well, I was always a film nut simply because um, I wanted to become a movie maker. And like I said, I got my first movie camera when I was 7 years old. I got it for Christmas, a Kodak Instamatic Super 8 movie camera.
That's freaking awesome.
And oh yeah, and I loved that thing. I guarded that thing with my life. You
Did
know,
you ever save any of the?
I don't know whatever happened to them. I don't know what happened to all my old movies. I went into the army and got married, and I think they burned in my parents' garage caught fire, and I think they burned in that fire, or they were water damaged afterwards. I don't know. But I went into the army and I came back, and there was a lot of stuff gone. A lot of stuff had changed. I picked up my wife and my kids, and we went to where I was stationed down in Fort Ord, California, and that was it. But
Oh, wait a
yeah.
second. Wait a second. Talking about that,
Mhm.
you recently did, as far as I remember. I don't mean to publicly say. You tell me to stop. If not, you know where I'm going with this, right? Is
Yeah,
it okay?
yeah, it's okay. I'll go ahead and I'll say it. I got a VCR. I got two VCRs. My sister-in-law works at a thrift shop, and she told me we got a couple VCRs. Zip, we went down. I picked them both up, brought them back, and I got the little patch cable, and I've been capturing VHS tapes into the computer. So if that's where you were going with that.
That's exactly where I was going. How long ago did you even look through that stuff?
Um, a lot of this I haven't seen since, well, the oldest ones we have, I borrowed a video camera from a friend when we were stationed in Germany, and so we're looking at 1989, 1988, somewhere in there.
Damn.
And the most recent was on our way to Hawaii, and that was in 91, 92, something like that.
Dude,
And
is it mind blowing slightly?
yeah,
I mean,
it is big time. I
because
mean,
because it's like I have some stuff like that. Well,
yeah.
apart from what the stuff that I've shared with you and stuff, I have some other stuff that I had kept all along, and just to see your, like, for instance, I was skinny.
Yeah, so was I. So was I. Linda's right. Thank you for fact checking me there. We left Germany in January of 92. We got to Hawaii in like 94,
Don't get into the
93.
habit of this fact checking thing. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Because,
now you're starting
well,
to sound a little bit.
they all start to run together to me. And I can't, like I said, I can't remember what I had for dinner last night, let alone try to remember things that happened 20, 30, 40 years ago. So,
It's such a wonderful thing, though.
yeah, it is. It is. Just I'll end on this because it is a crossover to the other one, the most hated Christmas songs. Number one on Spotify in the US this year, 2022, is All I Want for Christmas Is You by
Great,
Mariah Carey.
lovely song. She's a great singer.
It was also tied with Last Christmas for number five on the most hated Christmas songs.
Dude, people are never satisfied, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that fact, since people are never satisfied, and some people say this is wonderful, and other people say this is junky junk. Um, junky junk is the polite way of saying crap.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like mankind. What are you gonna do? Oh well,
Well,
move on.
I can remember a discussion years ago about how come there are no new Christmas songs. And because it was all the same thing, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, you know, rocking around the Christmas tree,
There's no
and
new
White
anything, dude.
Christmas, and this, that. There's no new Christmas songs. And then in the, well, I think Paul McCartney, I don't know if he started it, but he was early into it with Wonderful Christmas Time. There was a string of fairly new, uh, today, by today's standards, there was a string of new Christmas songs. And it took them a while to get into general rotation on the radio stations, but eventually they did, and they became, you know, what we would consider classics now. But that is kind of a generational things. Now, Jamie says that we have new songs every single year. I don't know. I have not kept up with today's music because most of it I don't like. But so I
Well,
can't really say yes. I can't really say no. I don't know.
I think that what I don't know if this I can't speak for Mark, but when
Mhm.
you said that, and I don't know if you I interjected. There's no new anything.
Mhm.
Um, I think that what maybe Mark is saying, and maybe I'm wrong, but I know that what I'm thinking is that there's nothing that sticks to the memory like these like there's nothing new I can't tell you any song from the past year that sticks in my memory with any sort of importance. In fact, let me stretch the timeline within the past 25 to 30 past I'm sorry, past 1991, and there's exceptions, but mostly I'm going to say it. It's all not memorable to me.
Um,
There are some exceptions.
there are some exceptions. Yeah. I liked Los Lonely Boys,
That's an exception.
um, Collective Soul.
Yeah, but that's
Um,
sort of in the 90s world.
that's I thought they were 2000, but okay. Um, you know, there are a few exceptions, but for the most part, I'm with you. I mean, I stop. I mean, I really have to cherry pick when you get past like 1988, you
Mhm.
know, and move beyond that, 89 maybe.
But if I said to you right now, Mark, for
Mhm.
all the frickin' for all the money,
Mhm.
it all in, and I said, Mark, without stopping, just roll through all these songs that were hits from the 60s on through the 80s. I bet you could go, and I mean you could stop, but you'd have a series of songs that you can
Yeah.
keep rolling out and rolling out
Mhm.
and rolling out. I would bet on your for you to be able to do that in a Las Vegas frickin' showdown. But if I said, Mark, from 91 through to 2022, I would not put money on your side of the table because
Yeah,
I'm not that bold.
I would have to. Yeah, I would have to be very careful and pick and choose because I don't know that I could. I don't know that I could name one.
And
You
I'm
know,
glad I
I
kept
may
my
be
money.
able to. I may be able to name a couple too, but not many more than that. You know, and
Dude,
it's just well. But see, a lot of it is I lost interest in what was considered about that time new music.
wait a second.
You lost interest in grunge, right? I
When grunge
lost in I lost interest about the same time. And I didn't really I followed bands that I knew, but I wasn't really finding new artists as much as I used to. There were a couple of exceptions, a band called All Good, a guitarist named Ian Moore, and then Kenny Wayne Shepherd. But I heard about them through my normal music channels, people that I spoke with. Oh, well, have you heard this guy? Well, no, I've never heard of him. And well, check out this tune, play it. Hey, that does sound good. And, but I was working in areas where we weren't listening to the radio. So
There's songs that are awesome coming out. Oh, and by the way, look who decided to join us. Snow Crusher. Well, hey,
Big Sugar.
Listen, just to reiterate that it's not that there's not new songs that are awesome out there. I wouldn't know, so don't ask me. But that people are not capable of doing such things. It's just that culturally in the mix, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
It's not present like it was back in the day, and maybe it's to do with our particular station in life, but I doubt it too, dude. All the cool stuff was back then. If you watch these people online doing reaction videos, they're young kids going back to you don't see people doing Puff Daddy or whoever the heck review, or maybe there is, but for the most part, they're going back to back in the day. It's all about back in the day, dude.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are getting into figuring out the roots of this stuff. I mean, I'm watching people react to Chuck Berry. I'm watching people react to Little Richard. And that it warms my heart because that's where all of this came from. All of this. You know?
Oh, I don't want to switch, but I have to throw this in. I did send you the video, and there's other videos, but I want to share this with you guys out there as well. And I don't know how cool you dig the vibe. I think it's a slightly nudged off-center vibe, but there's a lot of videos that they go and explore like abandoned or like what you call defunct like malls, something that was a staple of our lives for so long, and now because of the economic, change in activity or whatever you want to say, they're now just these huge concrete edifices that are sitting in the middle of these huge parking lots in the middle of somewhere in America, and like weeds may start to overgrow. Maybe some of the areas like they're just, and so
the roof is collapsed and it's filling up with water and stuff like that. They're basically abandoned with maybe one or two little stores at one end. But
with the light, like if you're walking down the hallway, you see the light at the end kind of shining, and there's sort of like an abandoned amusement park / creepy yet not quite, but at the same time like your memory is triggered. It's sort of like a nudged reality. It's very interesting and fascinating, and the reason I'm bringing it up is that I did send you a video about San Bernardino and this and that. You may not have seen it. It's its own thing, but
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Okay, so there's a little section where the guy's driving on the outskirts of his mall, and he's like, "Well, look at this mall." And dude, so check this out. So there's plenty of videos like that, and some of them are quite entertaining and kind of creepy, but at the same time, well, he stops by his town after he's visiting his town, and he visits the mall. But like when he visits, the footage he gets, he says, "Folks, this is like, I'm paraphrasing. This is my mall that used to be very active, and now it's freaking abandoned." And as he's panning, showing the mall, it is abandoned. Like the parking lot is growing weeds and whatnot. But what's funny is, or weird or creepy, it's a huge expanse parking lot, and there's a lady that shows up on screen pushing a little baby cart in the middle of the parking lot, just going about her business in this empty wasteland. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, that is freaking creepy.
Walking Dead vibes.
Because she's just walking with a little baby carriage in the middle of this empty sort of thing. And I'm like, wow, dude, who does that? Like, what mom, if you think about, I mean, I'm not judging, but
oh, maybe she was cutting across the parking lot to save walking all the way around the block. I mean,
but think about you're in it. Well, whatever. So the point is that it's so weird and stuff. So yeah. So I just wanted to throw that in. Things that we used to partake in as far as Christmas purchases and whatnot. A lot of them are just now abandoned, creepy, slightly nudged, off center, um,
Yeah.
sort of sitting there, iconic relics.
Yeah. They haven't changed. We have. Our buying habits have. Everything went away from downtown to go to the mall. And then suddenly the mall became unfashionable and everything went away from the malls to these outlying stores that are separated from one another to reduce competition. So you got Walmart way over here, and then you have Home Depot across town from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have all of those shops that were in the mall have moved out by those two because that's where the traffic's going. So the malls are basically closing down. Now, we are weird here in the Rogue Valley of Southern Oregon in that the mall is still a pretty popular place because we are such a small town. There isn't that much competition. I
Hmm.
mean, we got a Cracker Barrel a couple of years ago and it made the news. That's how podunk this town is. Okay. When they're reporting on a restaurant that opens up next to the interstate that millions of people are like, are you kidding me? Cracker Barrel? Yes, we just got a Cracker Barrel and it made the news. That's how podunk we are.
Uh,
So going to the mall is still a thing here.
Talking about weird, so Miami's. I don't know now because I'm not exploring as I used to, but I've had quite my run of exploring, and I'm quite tame compared to other people. But Miami, and believe me, when I mean quite tame, quite tame, I'm not like, "Hey, let's shoot caution to the wind and go with it." No, but I have throughout the course of my life because there's been plenty of time. So you adventure. Um, there's such weird places here.
Mm-hmm.
If you're driving down the road, you have your main places that you go to,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine because these are places where, but there's also other shops in between and stores that no one ever necessarily ever goes to.
Yeah.
Well, I have on occasion stopped in some of these places, and you wonder yourself, how do they stay open? Like they're not. They
Yeah.
might have like one or two items hanging from the thing. It just weird. In fact, I one time entered this bar to have a drink, and it was someplace I never go. When I walked in, they were playing like it was dark, and it had like a little dance hall with like laminate on the like cheap laminate. It just looked like we were somewhere in Central or South America, just like a time warp suck into like this sort of like you see in the movies. And I walk in, and like there's like women hanging on men's shoulders, but you can tell they're not together, and it's the whole vibe was weird. And I sat down, and like they're just vultures, circling.
Circling.
And what it is like men go in there, they drink their, and then these women are there, I guess part of the staff, meant to accompany the men while they drink, and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps buy them a drink, which the house keeps that money, or just some weird sort of thing. So there's all these weird. I didn't mean to go down this dark thing. There's so much weird like things that go on just off the beaten path here that one is never privy to unless one takes that left turn somewhere
That
down the road.
yeah, I should have made a right turn at Albuquerque. Uh, you know, uh, David Portal Woodworks has brought a blast from the past to me. The Savannah Mall in Savannah, Georgia, is about empty now. Bass Pro Shop and Target are basically the only ones left. Do you mean Oglethorpe Mall down there on Abercorn Street? See, I lived in Savannah. Linda was stationed in Savannah, right? We came from Germany to Savannah, Georgia. I don't remember the Bass Pro Shop being there. We got there in January of 92. I don't even know if there was a Bass Pro Shop there.
I don't think Bass Pro Shops existed back then.
Um, I'll put it to you this way, David. The Checkers hamburger joint there, right across from Kroger, that opened while we were there. Okay. He said, no, not Oglethorpe. Okay. Savannah Mall. All right. Okay. Savannah is a weird town. At least it was when we were there. Everything was on Abercorn Street. You got a Walmart? Yep. Where's it at? It's on Abercorn Street. You got a mall? Yep. Where's it at? It's on Abercorn Street. Is there anything that isn't on Abercorn Street? Yeah, the river. Where's the river? Down at the end of Abercorn Street. You know, it everything. So okay,
Just for the record, I stayed. What we were on family vacation, so we stayed in Savannah, and I think we took. But I don't remember Savannah well.
Mhm.
But we did stay in Savannah on our road trip across America.
Some of the best food and some of the friendliest people I have ever met in my life, and I mean that sincerely. But the climate and the bug situation, it's 100% salt marsh out there. And the bugs, I mean, they have wristwatches too, and they wait until just as the sun is about ready to go over the horizon, and then it's just like they flock after you, man, and everything there bites. You know, the locals buy Avon Skin So Soft in, I think, 55-gallon drums and put them in them trigger sprayer bottles and just coat themselves in it. I don't think it repels the bugs. I think what it is they put it on so thick that when the bugs land on you, they drown. I think that's what's going on. I don't
they
know.
can't penetrate the oil. I know, because that's one of the tricks that is used here in the Everglades.
Mhm.
You butter yourself up. If you want to hang out at night in the Everglades, you butter yourself up. You can either use the DEET in a can, spray can, which so people opt for the Skin So Soft, and they just butter themselves, and it kind of works. But there's always spots like you can't butter up the inside of your eyelids, so
No.
mosquitoes will find their way
Yep.
there. So it's like, but it does the job. It does the trick.
Yeah, it
For
does.
the most
But
part.
it was just weird for me because out here on the West Coast, yeah, we got mosquitoes, but they're basically down by the river or out by the lake. Yeah, dogs get fleas, and yeah, that's fine. Now, Nevada, we didn't have mosquitoes or fleas. There were no mosquitoes or fleas in the desert. It was just too dry for them. You never saw one. If you went down to the river or down to the lake, you might get a bite. But just you go outside with shorts and no shirt on, and nothing
I
would,
bet you
nothing.
that desert mosquito, when they saw you coming, they're like, "Oh, thank goodness!"
Yeah, really.
Finally, they're like, "This
Well,
place."
no, they just jump onto the coyotes and have a good old time with the coyotes and the wild horses.
Life has to be pretty tough for a mosquito in the desert, because out down here in the east, they've got a bonanza over here.
Yeah, Jim Dockerel says, yeah, but they mate the mosquitoes with crows up here. Yeah. The biggest mosquitoes I ever saw were down in that salt marsh down in Savannah. And there were two mosquitoes that, I mean, and I'm big, beefy son of a guns too. You start looking for anti-collision lights and tail numbers on them, Yeah. Two of them land on you and go, you want to eat him here or take him home? And the other one go, no, let's take him home before the big ones come out, And wow. And I mean, clouds of them. Just, you'd swear you come back in the house a pint low, just getting out of the car.
They are pretty, it's weird, but it's been okay for I don't know what the story is, because we should have a truckload of them, but they haven't been. The further west, when you go out to the Everglades, they're there. But you would assume that they'd be here as well. But no, I think that there's too much. I don't know. Yeah. Standing water is not a good thing.
Well, you're also, I don't know. Yeah, no, standing water is not a good thing.
I'm 12 miles away from the Glades proper, or the beginning of the Glades. So that's not that far away. It's like down the frickin' road.
Now, how far away from you? How far away from you is the beach, the ocean, Atlantic?
It's about 15 to 16 miles away.
So you're right in between.
Yeah,
basically.
I'm at
Okay. All right. Well, we better think about landing the plane. This was our Christmas episode, in case you didn't gather by the discussion about Christmas
Dead
music
malls
and what have you. Linda reminded me that this was, this is going to be your pre-Christmas episode. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I had thought about that, but I hadn't said anything to you about it. So I just did a, hey Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Yeah, because it was gonna be quite the controversial episode if not. So thanks, Mark.
Well, hope you guys had fun anyway. I mean, good grief. We did learn that people love and hate All I Want for Christmas Is You, both at the same time.
Human beings are funny that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
we can't satisfy everybody.
now I've got to say that on this list, I have to go a little bit more with the survey that went through the top songs on Spotify, because I think that's a better snapshot in time than just surveying 1,000 people, because how many million people use Spotify?
And obviously, they were all disgruntled anyhow.
Yeah,
So, but
that's true.
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I had fun. Nothing. It's not. Oh, it's Die Hard, a Christmas movie. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Yes, it is. In my opinion, Die Hard is 100% a Christmas movie for me.
Now okay, looks like we're not going to end because that just brought up something.
You son of a gun, Jim.
What constitutes a Christmas movie? Is it that Christmas is the main theme, or is it that the movie takes place around Christmas time?
It's that it's not that Christmas is the main theme necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
The deviant situation of Die Hard is that, if I remember well, you have a man that's having problems with his wife, I think it was, but at the end they make up, or there's a love ending.
Mm-hmm.
But and he says, "Baby, I miss you if I make it out." Oh, honey, I think if I remember well, I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but it's during Christmas, and there's a happy ending at the end of resolution. Although there's all this destruction and killing and this and that, so it's a deviation. But to me, I put it in. It's a Christmas action adventure movie.
Okay.
Thriller.
Well, I don't think there's any argument about the action adventure thriller type of a thing, but I just wanted to get an opinion on whether or not on what constitutes a Christmas movie. Does it just have to take place around Christmas time? Because you look at something like Home Alone. A lot of people consider that a Christmas movie. But why? The premise of a kid being left alone while the family goes on vacation could happen at any time of the year. That could have been over 4th of July weekend, or Labor Day, or Memorial Day.
It's a Christmas movie because
it took place during Christmas. Is that what makes it a Christmas movie? Okay.
Well, yeah.
All right.
I think. Now the Die Hard one is even tougher because look, the Home Alone one has strong Christmas vibes, and you have a kid involved, and Christmas is all about kids, and you have sort of that theme so it's easier to attach that to Christmas right off the bat. Even though it's not necessarily like to say Santa Claus, but it's there. But the Die Hard is a good candidate for, is it or not? I place it squarely on it is a Christmas for the reasons I said before. But that is one of the contentions that occur online.
Now, Steve Nealon says a Christmas movie has Santa in it. There's a lot of movies that don't take place around Christmas. Of course, now I'm going to say this, and I can't think of one off the top of my head that has a Santa in it, but it's not considered a Christmas movie.
That's a tough one, Mark.
And then there are some Christmas movies that don't have a Santa in it. Anything to do with the Nativity doesn't have a Santa in it. The Grinch that Stole Christmas doesn't have a Santa in it. So there are, there was a movie, Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd trading places.
Uh-huh.
That took place around Christmas. The climax took
I don't
place
consider
right
it.
around Christmas.
I don't consider it a Christmas movie.
You don't? Okay. Yeah, I
But
wouldn't either.
I don't remember it 100%. So
I wouldn't consider it a Christmas movie either.
Die
But I
Hard
mean,
is 100% a Christmas movie in terms of
mhm,
it was released in Christmas. If I remember, I saw it in the theaters, and it was mind blowing for us.
mhm,
It was a mind that was one of the iconic ones, and it was a
mhm.
big deal to go and see it, and it was Christmas and whatnot. I remember
Well,
it came out in Christmas.
yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people make that make that connection with it, because it did come out around Christmas, and it was set during Christmas time and all this other.
Right.
So I think that's where, and it's a generational thing, because I know people of my folks' generation would look at that and go, "No, that's not a Christmas movie." But they're the Miracle of 34th Street generation. That's a Christmas movie to them, or It's a Wonderful Life. Both very good movies, by the way.
Oh no, that's an
Um,
official
but
Christmassy. Yeah.
yeah, but so it's a generational thing, and I think folks around our generation, some say yes, some say no. The younger generation, Lord knows. I mean,
Unless people are being
I'm so out of
contrarians,
touch. Well, it's true.
unless people are being contrarian, everyone from my generation, and I'm gonna be that bold, but I interject, unless they're being contrary, they're gonna say, yeah, it's a Christmas movie. But if you're gonna get in the weeds about, does it have all the elements involved from the traditional Christmas movies, you can argue that point. But I think it's
Yeah.
well, I think it fits
Okay.
in the broader
Yeah.
sense.
Okay. Robin says, yes, it does. The Grinch dressed up like Santa. Yeah, the Grinch dressed up as Santa. Santa wasn't in it. Two different things.
Well, is The Grinch a Christmas movie?
Yes, the Grinch who stole Christmas. He hated Christmas and hated Christmas and hated Christmas, and
But
then
he's the
suddenly his heart grew and he learned to love Christmas and became a good guy. So you
yeah.
have
Well, but he's not like yeah. You know what?
Now, Robin, she says, I've never seen It's a Wonderful Life. Shame on you. Quintessential movie. I mean, serious classic. Didn't do so good at the box office when it was released, but very, very good flick. Very good movie. One that'll make you think.
Well, I think that we are. See if you can see if you can translate this.
Beating a dead horse. Yeah, it's just a lump of matted fur right about now. So let's go ahead and land the plane. Hope you guys have had fun. Hope you guys enjoyed our little excursion into holiday stuff and such.
Folks, be good. Enjoy yourselves if that's what you want to do, but don't be a Grinch. But then again, you can
Yeah.
if you wish.
Yeah.
We do wish you guys a very happy Christmas, holiday season. We want you to be happy and do good things and be good. So we appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with us and just shooting the breeze here. We are. I was about to say we're sponsored by what was sponsored by part. For some
Yeah,
reason.
we're sponsored by. Go ahead, but you
We're,
don't want to do that yet.
oh, okay. So we go live every Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific Coast time here on the Trampled Underfoot podcast show on YouTube. We have a site over on Facebook where you can drop your messages, ideas, comments, and such. Trampled Underfoot podcast on Facebook. And we have a website. Website is trampledunderfootpodcast.com. You can catch your past episodes there. You press the Wayback Machine button, and you can get all those back issues. And we're also sponsored by
Harneo Media. If you're looking to increase or establish a web presence, wow. Let's try that again, Mark. If you're looking to increase or establish a web presence, go no further than Harneo Media. That's the best place to start because nothing will do that better than your own website. And Steve can take care of you. He has a good price system. It's 100% personal service. When you're dealing with Harneo Media, you're dealing with Steve. That's Harneo Media, HARNEAL media.com, sponsor of Trampled Underfoot podcast.com.
Well, all right. Well, we hope you guys enjoy. Be happy. I have nothing else to say but that because who am I to tell you what to be? That's what
No.
I think in my mind.
Just remember the reason for the season and be nice to one another, y'all. You have a Merry Christmas.
That was so demanding.
Yes.
It's like a firm statement right there.
Yeah. Be
Well,
nice to one another.
I think that that's a good idea. So, peace.
See you later.